we saw that if you answered no to the question, are you ISO 27001 certified, about 160 more questions came up. When we had the initial call with Sprinto, the people who were involved in the sales process told me that it would take 2 to 3 months and then we would be compliant. And I didn't really believe them, but we did. And I think if there's one USP, then that's it. Security is a big topic for us because we're working with personal data. The thing that we just saw was that usually in the sales process, you had to fill out long and lengthy forms to answer questions about how you currently organize your IT security and handling of personal data and those kinds of things. I think that the most important thing there was that we saw that if you answered no to the question, are you ISO 27001 certified, about 160 more questions came up. And they were never exactly the same, so there was no copy pasting there. Some companies ask follow-up questions based on the answers that you give. I've seen one that was over 1,000 questions. Sometimes that takes a couple of days to answer. I think the most important thing to note here is not that it's really about the time investment, because you'll find time, and it could be, sometimes it could be 3 or 4 hours that you need to spend on it, but that's fine. Usually if that happens if it's new questions. However, the thing that bothered us was that some customers might not even book a meeting if we don't have that ISO 27001 badge on our website, basically. And I think that that's our main driver for getting certified. We already have a deal, basically, but there's no signature yet. That's usually the phase where this happens. So it's not a nice place to be in for prolonged periods of time for us. And the ISO certification helps a lot there. It's really convenient for us to be able to say yes, and them thinking, okay, then it's probably going to be fine. And that's usually the case for us. We had an estimate on what it would cost in time and money to work with consultants, basically. Based on the chats that I already had with a couple of those consultants, I also knew that a lot of it wasn't automated, so you would actually have to provide a lot of evidence. We were warned even by those consultants that it would take me a significant amount of time to get it done, because they wouldn't be doing the work, they would only be doing the advising, basically. I think that's one of the reasons why we looked at more automation, at least. How I got to Sprinto is check G2. Sprinto was basically listed as like the top company to do this. When we had the initial call with Sprinto, they said we have a 100% success rate, and that was something that we didn't hear from the consultants. Sprinto was very transparent, so one of the things that was nice in the sales process was, okay, we'll take you through our dashboard, we'll show you what actually happens, this is how much time it's going to take. Sprinto even came out a little bit less expensive, which was also nice. At the beginning, I think the people who were involved in the sales process told me that it would take 2 to 3 months and then we would be compliant in our case. And I didn't really believe them, but we did. And I think that that's the main takeaway. Working with Sprinto, it was easy. We never really felt lost or anything. It was always clear what needed to be done. It was always clear what hadn't been done yet. So you have a nice dashboard where you can just see what the next steps would be. Initially, we had a weekly call. Every week I had a list of things to do. Then I would do them, plan a new call, and then at some point there were less and less things that had to be done. Every question is answered within 24 hours. If there is a bug somewhere, it's always fixed within a reasonable amount of time. Didn't happen a lot. There's a bit of device monitoring going on there, for instance. That would be a very resource-intensive process if I would be the one that needs to check whether everyone still has their lock screens enabled and disk encryption on and whatever. It's nice to see that's just something that is automated, and I can get a notification if something is not as it should be, but also the person who needs to fix it gets that notification. So it's usually not on me, which is also nice about that. It's a very painless process that way. Also because it's kind of immediate. You'll get that notification within a day. So it's not as if you have to fix everything at the end of the year to be compliant again. You're just making sure you're always compliant, basically. Which I think is better from a security perspective, but it's also better from a time investment. So for instance, we run on GCP, and one of the things that we need to make sure is that certain logs are captured, for instance. If someone sets up a new instance or a new resource within GCP and isn't aware that that needs to happen because I did it and they weren't involved, Sprinto pops up and says, hey, we see that a new resource is there. Could you classify it? Could you make sure that these checks are met? And that helps a lot. I think responsiveness was definitely up there, and also guidance. So the human touch definitely helps. It's a subject that a lot of people like me don't have active experience with. I think that helped me a lot. If you're able to invest some time in it, then you're going to be able to do it within 2 or 3 months. And I think that that's, if there's one USP, then that's it.